Discover the sinister truth. 7 haunting years of a cursed genie trapped in this forbidden house. Lisa held her breath as shadows danced along the walls of their dilapidated home. The whispers of the past wrapped around her like a fog, thick and suffocating. At night, when the chill crept through the cracked windows, and the wind howled like a mournful spirit, she feared the house was alive with memories too dark to confront. For 7 restless years, they had lived with the ghost of a man taken too soon, a husband, a father, a crime left unsolved. She did her best to shield Ben from the menacing gaze of their neighborhood, where cracked pavement and peering eyes told stories twisted by time and sadness. One night, while rummaging through the attic, Ben stumbled upon a dusty, ornate lamp, hidden like a dirty secret beneath an old blanket. His fingers found its surface, cold and heavy with neglect. Curiosity ignited, and in a moment of defiance against the drudgery of their lives, he rubbed the lamp, a choice that would change everything. A billowing smoke escaped, swirling in shapes that whispered to him, tugging at the corners of his mind. Out emerged a figure, gaunt and hollow, each feature lined like shadows stretching across a grave. 7 wishes shall I grant, the genie rasped, its voice a chilling echo. At first, the wishes felt innocent, a little more cash from his part-time job, grades that miraculously improved as if whispered into the ears of his teachers. For a moment, the world felt lighter, the clouds of despair momentarily parting, but shadows deepened as whispers rose in their quiet suburb. Neighbors' smiles turned brittle, their laughter coated with something sinister. Lisa sensed the change too, a prickling unease creeping under her skin. Late-night shifts at the diner morphed into a test of endurance, not just for her body, but for her mind. The clinking of dishes faded as murmurs surrounded her, neighbors who once shared pleasantries glancing sharply, their eyes flitting with unspoken secrets. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Lisa's heart raced, fear tightening around her like a vice. Ben was trembling on the other side of the phone, recounting visions that clawed at the edges of reality. Figures from their past emerging from the shadows, people who had played their roles in the unsolved crime, their presence now felt within the walls of their home. Each wish felt like a thin string pulling them further into a darkness she had never imagined. As the final wish loomed, Lisa stood at a crossroads, a grotesque truth weaving itself tightly around the remnants of her family's life. She could confront the maledictions unsettled in their home or shield her son from the demons lurking in the dark. The tension pulsed, pregnant with dread, when suddenly a frantic knock echoed through the stillness of night. With a heart pounding like thunder, she opened the door, the flickering porch light casting long, frightening shadows. A figure loomed, cloaked in black, whispering, "You've made a wish, Haven T.U." As fear enveloped her, the world beneath her feet trembled, something vile yearning to reclaim its grip over them. The air thickened, charged with malice. Where was safety? What choice lay ahead that could unravel everything? The moment Lisa opened the door, her breath caught in her throat. The figure before her was a silhouette drenched in darkness, its shadow stretching like a monstrous claw towards her. The stench of decay washed over her, a bitter reminder of the house's tragic history. "Who are you?" she stammered, heart racing, her every instinct screaming to slam the door shut. The cloaked figure hesitated, its breath stirring the air in failed whispers. "You called upon something beyond your understanding, didn't you?" Cold dread pooled in her stomach. "What do you want?" "The consequences," it hissed, voice hollow and full of winter's chill. "You think your son's wishes were innocent? Every desire has a price." Lisa's fingers trembled on the doorframe, her grip faltering. Could they really have unleashed something hellish? "Ben!" she yelled, torn between protecting him and the chilling unknown that crept in through the open door. The figure stepped forward, and the flickering porch light illuminated its face, if it could even be called that. Hollow sockets stared back, void of life, while a grotesque smile stretched across its lips. "He is further and now deeper than you know." Lisa felt the world twist. Panic surged as she spun around, rushing back into the house. The familiar walls were suddenly oppressive, steeped in an uncanny aura, as if the very foundation absorbed the darkness creeping closer. "Ben!" She shouted again, terror clawing at her throat. She raced to his room, but the door creaked open on its own, revealing an unnatural stillness within. Her son wasn't there. Her stomach dropped. She whirled around, the house feeling like a maze closing in around her. Each creak of the floorboards echoed sinister laughter, mocking her desperate search. The images from that night flooded her mind, the whisper of the genie, the promises Ben made. Had they summoned something far worse than their father's ghost? As she rushed into the living room, shadows flickered at the edges of her vision. Shapes seemed to gather, swirling just out of sight. "Ben!" She cried out, her voice wavering. "Mom!" A faint voice echoed from the hallway. She bolted toward the sound, her heart hammering against her ribs. The voice sounded strained, desperate. "Help me!" Suddenly, the lights flickered, the shadows coalescing into grotesque forms. Figures from the past, faces she had seen around the neighborhood when she was a child, people who had vanished under dark circumstances. They closed in, ethereal and menacing. "You should never have wished," they murmured in a chorus, voices entwined in a web of regret and sorrow. "Stay away!" She screamed, pushing against the spectral tide that threatened to pull her into their horrible embrace. Then came another voice, Ben's mom. It called from the end of the hallway, sounding distant yet clear. "Ben!" She strained to see him, but the whirling shadows thrashed about her like a storm. With a final burst of courage, she charged forward. As she rounded the corner, she skidded to a stop. There, at the end of the hall, was Ben, trapped in an eerie glow, surrounded by swirling smoke that twisted like serpents around him. He looked dazed, yet entranced. "Ben, fight it!" Lisa shouted, lunging toward her son. The smoke spiraled tighter, wrapping around his limbs like a shroud. "Mom, I can't. I wished for something." "What did you wish for?" she cried, a spark of dread igniting her heart. But words of dread, half formed in his mouth, floated away into the chilling ether. With her heart pounding, Lisa faced the shadows closing in. She had to save him. The house whispered her name, echoing their fate, as she felt an icy hand clutch her heart. What exactly had her son called forth? The shadows swelled, hunger brimming within them as the air thickened, cut by Ben's unconscious plea for aid. One wrong move and they could lose everything. With shaking hands, she pressed forward. The genie had warned of consequences. What if the true price was approaching faster than she could ever hope to face? But then, in the depth of that suffocating silence, a flicker of hope ignited. If the genie had power, maybe there was a way to twist it against itself. What if she took a wish of her own? The thought burned bright yet terrifying. A wish carved from desperation and sheer will. But what might she lose in the process? As Lisa grasped for the light at the end of this horror, a chilling whisper curled through the air, "Make your choice, and pay the price." Lisa's feet moved instinctively toward Ben, but the tightening smoke pushed back, each tendril like a cold, slithering serpent that coaxed her away. "I want to lose you." Her voice cracked, breaking the humid tension, echoing against the walls that seemed to sigh with sorrow. "Mom, you don't understand. It's too late." Ben's words were desperate, muffled by the dark mist swirling around him. Too late? The phrase echoed through her mind, gnawing at her resolve. What had he wished for? With every fiber of her being, Lisa yearned to reach him, but the shadows clutched at her ankles, pulling her into their void. Each time she struggled, the whispers grew louder, enveloping her in a cacophony of guilt and despair. You wanted him back. Shadows of lost souls danced around her, their empty eyes pleading, almost mocking. You've summoned pain and regret. Stop. Lisa screamed, shaking her head. I didn't know. I just wanted him to be happy. Happy? Laughed a voice that was part of the darkness. Happiness is a fleeting shadow in these forsaken halls. She clenched her fists, fighting the tide as memories shattered the walls of her mind. Visions flooded back, the laughter, the smiles, the days full of warmth before everything had turned cold after his father left. Could she really have awakened something evil in pursuing such innocuous desires? Fight it, Ben. She cried again, feeling the cold slithering fingers constrict around her heart. In that moment, Ben's face began to contort, his expression shifting between fear and a strange kind of peace. Mom, please, I wished he would stay. Understanding crashed against her like icy water, freezing her thoughts. Her husband. The pain of their broken home had seeped into their wishes, conjuring a being that feasted on despair. Ben, you need to take it back. She yelled, desperation pushing her forward as she felt the shadows threatening to swallow her whole. We can't let it take you. I can't. I don't even know how. Tears streamed down his cheeks, mixing with the swirling darkness. He seemed torn between the very wishes they had conjured, pulled by invisible threads that twisted tighter with each passing moment. The shadows roared, hungry shapes vying for attention, their voices rising into a chorus of despair. One wish brings another, and each wish demands a price. Lisa's mind raced. The genie had mentioned choices. What if she could counteract Ben's wish with one of her own? A wish that would undo this twisted fate? What if I wished for something different, something to break this curse? Mom. You don't know what could happen. Ben shouted, and the shadows surged forward, closing in around them like a storm. I have to try. Her heart thundered in her chest. I'd risk everything for you. Choices made in desperation can ruin everything. The voice slithered through the air, an echo from the dark figure at the door. What matters is that we still have a choice. Lisa shouted back, gathering her courage. She could feel the weight of the spirits pushing against her, their desperation clinging to her skin like ice, but was she strong enough to bend the genie's magic to her will? In the depths of her fear, a quiet determination solidified. She stepped closer to Ben, ignoring the burn of the smoke against her skin. I wish for you to be free of this curse. For us to undo the darkness our wishes have wrought. The shadows paused, as if caught by surprise. Suddenly, silence fell, pressing hard on her ears. It was too quiet. The air shimmered, and Lisa's heart slowed down, each beat echoing in the void, trembling with dread. What have you done? And then the shadows started to swirl faster, frantically seeking a new target. Ben's grip faltered in the haze, weakening against the smothering darkness. Mom. It's coming for you. Lisa could see the spectral figures clawing through the darkness toward her, their cries spilling with fury. You don't know what you've unleashed. The smoke thickened around her, swirling like a tempest. Lisa felt herself being pulled backward, the walls whispered her name in taunting reverberations. If she had made the wrong choice, this price could be more than she had ever imagined. Stay with me. She yelled, locking eyes with Ben, a bond of fear and hope threading between them, but the shadows swelled, darking out everything, as she felt her grip start to slip. What had she awakened in her desperate bid to save her son? The ominous whisper curled through the air once more. Every wish births another to pay is to suffer. As terror rose, gripping her heart, one final thought crossed her mind. Had she truly only just begun to unravel a nightmare far worse than she could fathom? And in the heart of the storm, she realized a dreadful truth: everything had a price, and one way or another, it was coming due. The shadows surged with a life of their own, writhing like broken bodies condemned to eternal agony. Lisa felt the heat of their gaze smolder against her skin, as if the very air around them had become a living entity, hungry for despair. Mom, please. Ben's voice pierced through the chaos, a thread of sanity snapping in the madness. She saw his face, the terror twisted within him. Stay. She shouted, reaching toward him. The smoke clawed at her throat, a choking reminder of the darkness they faced together. Yet the figures in the fog were closing in. Each flicker of movement revealed the agonized expressions of those who had come before them, trapped, perhaps forever, in this purgatory. What did you promise? One cried out, its eyes hollow, void of hope. What price will you pay to escape? Leave us alone. Lisa screamed, her voice cracking, but the shadows only drew closer, licking at her heels, a spiral of dread swirling in their wake. She couldn't think straight. Her thoughts collided, dissonance like thunder reverberating in her skull. With each moment, it felt as if the walls were closing in tighter, an iron grip of despair that threatened to crush her spirit entirely. The whispers escalated, a relentless chant of regret and despair, gnawing at her resolve. "You will pay, you will suffer." Ben struggled against the weight of the smoke, his boyish face contorting as he grasped at memories she had thought securely buried. "Mom, what do we do?" he stammered, the smoke rising through his fingers. "Please, just make it stop. Fight it. We have the power to make it stop." Her heart thudded like a war drum, each beat filled with the weight of all her past mistakes, the breakup with his father, the tears shed in silence late at night. Was this the culmination of her wishes? From the depths of her despairing thoughts came a flicker of determination. "I wished for all of this." She turned to the shadows, her voice trembling with newfound conviction. "I take it back. I wish for our lives to be whole again. I wish for peace in our hearts." For a moment, the shadows fell quiet. The oppressive air stood still, heavy with anticipation. But then the horde erupted, slashing through the tranquility Liz had dared to invoke. "Revoke it?" the chorus of wails mocked. "You dare challenge the darkness?" Darkness laughed, an echo that dug deep into her soul. Panic surged as a blinding spotlight of unknown terror flickered across the room. Lisa's defenses crumbled. She could feel the shadows clutching at her, probing, seeking the cracks beneath her determination. "Run!" she screamed, propelling her feet forward with frantic energy. As she raced toward Ben, the shadows recoiled, howling in outrage. The walls vibrated with their anger, shaking loose cobwebs that had settled in quiet places, bringing forth more memories, more ghosts. In her sprint, she stumbled and fell, her palms hit the cold floor, scraping against the gritty surface. Each breath rattled through her lungs as if she was choking on the darkness. She felt the sting of her decisions wash over her. "Ben!" she cried out, struggling to rise. He was slipping, becoming one with the mist, his form dissolving into the shadows. "I want to let you go." Their eyes locked once more, the fear within him mirrored her own, the scream of her heart echoed through the distance. "Mom." A final flicker of hope reflected in his wide eyes, but the darkness surged, blinding light flickered from her fingertips, the chaotic breath of magic rocketing toward them both. "Everything has a price." The shadows roared in unison. A vortex erupted around them, lifting her from the floor. The last sight she had was of Ben's face contorted in confusion, swirling in despair, and then nothing. In that expanse of silence, she understood the price was more than she could bear alone. And with that cruel realization, the darkness enveloped her, swallowing her whole into an abyss where wishes became nightmares, and the shadows continued their eternal dance. What had Ben truly wished for, and how far would she have to sink into madness to reclaim him? What else would the darkness demand in return? The void pressed down on Lisa like a heavy blanket, suffocating and cold. In the darkness, she felt trapped, her limbs weighed down, as if leaden chains had bound her. Panic surged. Where was Ben? A low hum filled her ears, vibrating through her skull. The shadows danced, and within the cacophony of whispers, she could almost make out Ben's name. The sound grew louder, becoming a haunting echo that reverberated deep within her bones. "Ben!" she shrieked, voice frayed with desperation, as she clawed through the obscurity. She felt herself falling, not just physically but into memories that teased her sanity. Laughter filled her mind, the warmth of summer days, Ben's small hand in hers. The sudden juxtaposition made her heart twist painfully in her chest. "Mom, help!" She could hear him, could feel his fear piercing through the veil. It was a tether, a lifeline in the stifling darkness. Lisa focused on that sound, pulling on it like a thread, determined not to let it fray, but the shadows didn't retreat. "The boy is ours," they promised, their voices sinister. "He is part of our deal now," a delicious morsel of despair. And with every insidious purr, the darkness wrapped tighter around her, a suffocating cocoon of dread. "No!" she screamed, driven by the primal urge to survive. She pushed against the shadows, channeling every ounce of her resolve. He is my son. You cannot take him. You have already lost him, the shadows sneered, their cold fingers moving through her thoughts like ice, unearthing buried regrets and fears. But you can join him. Embrace the darkness. Give up the fight, and it will cease. Lisa's heart thundered in her chest. She recoiled from the seductive call of surrender. The thought of being consumed by the shadows repulsed her. I want to give in. I want to abandon him. She shouted, and with that declaration, she felt a change within, a flicker of resistance sparking in the depths of her soul. Eyes wide, she began to move, each step pulling her through the oppressive sludge of despair. Show me where he is. She commanded the darkness. I want to leave until I find my son. The shadows writhed, hesitant and unsure. Your wish must be earned. What will you sacrifice? Lisa paused, her mind racing. Nothing was worth more than Ben. But the price, she could feel it trembling at the edges of her consciousness. If it means saving him, I will pay whatever you demand. Just give him back. The laughter erupted again, a cacophony of tortured souls. You misunderstand, dear mother. The price is boundless. Your very essence may be the only currency accepted. Lisa trembled, fear coursing through her. Would they demand her soul? Her sanity? Would she be lost entirely? She thought of Ben, his laughter, his light. Take it. She shouted, her voice raw. I would give everything for him. Use me to save him. A sudden stillness enveloped her, as the shadows paused and contemplated her sacrifice. There, in the suffocating silence, she felt a gravitational pull, a strength forming beyond her understanding. Very well, they hissed, the echo of thousands of voices intertwining. Step deeper into the abyss, and his freedom shall be yours. But know this, your darkness will bear a mark that cannot be erased. As she took another step forward, the shadows shuddered, and she felt the world shift. Then, everything dissolved into a blinding light. With a gasp, she fell onto cold, hard ground, her eyes blinking against the brightness. Ben! Her focus sharpened. She darted her gaze, heart pounding, searching frantically, and there he was, sitting in the corner of an unfamiliar room, wide-eyed and trembling. Mom? His voice echoed fear and confusion, breaking the spell that had held her. But before she could move toward him, the shadows behind her began to swirl again, manifesting into grotesque forms, twisted figures of torment and despair. They breathed down her neck, hungry and furious. Your sacrifice awakens our hunger. They chanted, closing the distance between her and Ben. No! Lisa cried, and as she stood to shield him, the realization struck her like lightning. She had entered a domain where wishing came at a price, but what else had she unleashed? A new battle was about to unfold, one that would test not only her strength but the very fabric of her soul. Would Ben be lost to the shadows once more, or was this just the beginning of their true torment? The grotesque figures towered over her, their hollow eyes glistening with malice as they hungrily approached. Lisa felt her heart race, an animal thrashing in her chest, each beat echoing her urgency. Stay back! She shouted, her voice unsteady but loud enough to pierce through the darkness. Ben's wide eyes mirrored her fear, drawing Lisa closer to him, as she instinctively moved between her son and the looming shadows. Mom, I'm scared. Ben's voice wavered, straining against the terror pressing down on them. Don't worry, Ben. She called back, forcing the words through a throat tight with dread. She reached out, her hand trembling as she tried to reassure him, but she could feel the cold breath of the darkness grazing her skin. The figures twisted, writhing in a dance of malice, their whispers rising like a chilling breeze. You can't save him, they taunted, their voices an amalgamation of all her deepest fears. He belongs to us now. No! Lisa cried, desperation infusing her actions. She had made a deal. She had sacrificed her essence, and she wasn't about to let the shadows fulfill their hunger. As the shadows lunged, Lisa felt a spark within her, the energy of her love for Ben igniting a flame. Images flooded her mind, Ben's first steps, the way he laughed, their shared moments in the sun. The power of those memories surged through her like a raging river. "Leave us alone," she shouted, pushing back against the swirling mass that threatened to consume them. The shadows paused, recoiling as if her words physically struck them, audibly hissing in displeasure. "Your sacrifice isn't enough," they screeched, the sound grating against her ears. "Your choice to enter this realm comes with a price far greater than blood." Lisa's courage faltered for a moment, doubt creeping in like frost. The price, the dark bargain she had made. But she wouldn't back down. "I will find a way," she declared fiercely. "I'll do whatever it takes." The shadows shuddered, recoiling slightly. "Then face the truth," they howled in unison, and the room spun as images erupted around her like a storm. Visions crashed in waves, revealing hidden truths of this cursed house, shadows of those who had challenged the darkness before her, all women foolish enough to barter their souls for loved ones. And each had vanished, swallowed whole by the consuming void. Lisa stumbled back, horror enveloping her as she realized the pattern, the sinister fates of those who had come before. Panic clawed at her throat. She grasped for Ben's hand, finding his small, warm fingers gripping tightly around hers. "Mom, don't let them take me," he cried, and the pleading in his voice ignited a storm of rage within her. The shadows hadn't claimed him yet. She wouldn't let them. "Together, Ben," she shouted, shifting their clutched hands to the center, drawing strength from their unity. "We can fight this." The figures stiffened, their grotesque forms wavering as her determination clashed with their hunger. A scream erupted from the depths of the shadows, a sound that echoed with the weight of a million lost souls. "Your bond is weak. You cannot endure." But Lisa felt the fire in her chest, an ember ignited by love, now roaring like a wildfire. "You're wrong," she insisted, pouring every ounce of her will into that moment, her belief igniting the air around them. "Release him," she screamed, a voice filled with power, with resolution. The shadows faltered, a crack forming in their imposing mass. Could it be enough? Would her determination and sacrifice mean something here? But with each passing second, she could feel the darkness thrumming around her, growing stronger. The thrill of uncertainty sent shivers down her spine, but Lisa pressed on, unsure if they were breaking free or stepping into a deeper abyss. The shadows closed in, brimming with rage, their whispers encircling her thoughts. "Your essence is ours, and this game has only just begun." And at that moment, reality twisted, revealing a terrifying twist. She had only just learned what it truly meant to bargain with the darkness. Could she really protect her son, or had she merely exchanged one nightmare for another? The growing shadows threatened to engulf them both, and Lisa knew the battle was far from over. "Mom!" Ben cried again, his desperation palpable, and as she turned, the shadows advanced further, engulfing their sanctuary. What other horrors lay waiting just beyond the edge of darkness? What had she truly awakened with her sacrifice? The shadows surged forward, swirling with ferocity, their whispers transformed into a deafening roar. Lisa squeezed Ben's hand tighter, feeling the warmth of his small fingers contrast starkly against the icy tendrils creeping toward them. The room spun, walls bending, almost as if the very structure of reality was twisting under the weight of the darkness. "Stay with me," Lisa shouted, gritting her teeth against the cacophony of despair that clawed at her mind. She was on the brink, teetering between hope and the void that threatened to swallow them whole. The grotesque figures loomed larger, their hollow eyes locking onto hers with a predatory glint. "You think you can fight us?" they sneered, their voices a sickening harmony of despair. "We have devoured the souls of mothers and sons, watched them drown in their own fear. You will not be the exception." Lisa recalled the stories she had heard, local legends about the souls trapped in this house. Women who had tried to save their children, only to lose themselves in the void. The weight of those stories hung heavily in the air, the chilling truth flooding her mind. "No!" she screamed, feeling a surge of defiance. "I want to let you take him." She thrust forward, digging deep within herself for every memory, every ounce of love that still burned brightly between her and Ben. The very air crackled around them as she invoked her memories: Ben's laughter, their cozy nights under blankets, the way he hugged her tightly after nightmares. Each thought became a shield, pushing back the encroaching darkness. Sensing her strength, the shadows recoiled slightly, but their laughter turned into a low rumble. "You are a fool," they hissed, "love is powerless here." "Wrong." Lisa shot back, her voice steadying with each word. "Love is everything. It's what keeps us alive." But they came at her again, relentless. She felt their cold fingers brushing against her skin, making her tremble. One figure lunged, its claws almost grazing her arm, leaving an icy trail. For a moment, she teetered, fear snaking through her veins. "Mom, I can't hold on." Ben cried, his voice breaking her focus. "Ben, don't let go." She screamed, pulling her son close. It was a desperate plea, one filled with all the fear she'd kept buried deep. Suddenly, a flicker of light burst around them, illuminating the shadows with a ghostly shimmer. Lisa felt the fire inside her pulse. "We're stronger together," she yelled, feeling Ben's grip strengthen as they united in a defiant front against the darkness. The shadows screeched, their bodies vibrating with rage. "You think this solves anything?" they roared. "You must pay the toll, a sacrifice of deeper pain." Before Lisa could process their threat, the floor beneath them trembled. Cracks spider-webbed outwards as if the house itself was trying to eject them. The walls emitted an ominous groan, and for a brief moment, the horrors around them pushed back slightly. But in that moment of clarity, Lisa saw a glimmer of hope amidst the terror. A door cracked open, just behind the looming figures. "Ben, now!" she shouted, pulling him toward the light. They dashed, scrambling across the fractured floor, the shadows grasping greedily at their heels. Lisa's breath came hard and fast, her mind racing. Each step felt like treading through molasses, and her heart thundered in her chest, drowning out the whispers that grew fainter. They were close, so close, but were they too late? As they neared the door, darkness clawed at them, shadows wrapping around her ankles, tugging her back toward the void. "Mom!" Ben screamed, his eyes wide with fear. She glanced back, the shadows morphing into distorted faces, lost souls begging to be saved, faces of the past imprisoned in the house's grip. The horror of their fate seeped into her, but she couldn't think about that now. They had to escape. With one last push of will, she lunged forward, breaking free from the grasp of the shadows. But the door slammed shut just as she reached it, a booming echo resonating in her ears. "Your fate is sealed, Lisa," the shadows hissed triumphantly. "You can never leave." The door pulsed, dimming slowly, shadows starting to creep back over it. "Ben! We have to find another way," she yelled, panic amplifying the urgency. But in that moment, a bleak realization settled in: this wasn't just about escaping. What if they couldn't? What if something worse awaited beyond? "Mom, what do we do?" Ben's voice trembled, his small frame quaking against hers. Lisa's heart sank as she felt the darkness tightening like a vice. Could she really save them both? And then the whispers came again: "You've made your choice. Now, you must face the consequences." Was there still a chance to break free, or had they both traded their souls for a darkness more terrible than ever imagined? Time was running out, and Lisa knew they couldn't hide forever. What would the darkness require from them next? The shadows writhed, their voices rising to a chilling crescendo in the chaotic dimness. Lisa's mind raced as she looked around, desperately assessing the room. Each face in the darkness morphed into something familiar: neighbors, friends, even her own family members, twisted in eternal torment, their eyes pleading for liberation. "Ben, we need to go," Lisa urged, tearing her gaze from the haunting figures. She scanned the area again, choking back the panic. The walls seemed to close in, suffocating her with each breath. Look for another exit. There must be something. But Ben's eyes were wide and brimming with unshed tears. "Mom, I don't want to die." His voice cracked, raw and trembling. A tendril of shadow snaked closer, curling around Ben's leg, and Lisa's heart shattered at the sight. The darkness was not just a mere obstruction, it was alive, hungry, alive with a vile consciousness. "Stay close to me," she shouted, feeling despair claw at her chest. She took a step toward the nearest wall, fingers brushing against its cold, damp surface. There was a heartbeat thump, throbbing in sync with her own. With every pulse, Lisa felt the house's malicious intent, like a predator circling its prey. There has to be a way out, somewhere. She gasped, not just searching for opportunities but clinging to the remnants of hope. Among the chaos, a faint glimmer caught her eye near the base of the staircase. Shadows wriggled dangerously around it, but there, nestled against the wall, was an old, rusted hatch. "Over there." She pointed frantically. The hatch. Without waiting for a response, Lisa dashed toward it, pulling her son along. The shadows shrieked in fury, moving to intercept them, angry whispers growing louder. "You cannot escape." They screamed, but the spark of defiance in her heart flared to life again. She reached the hatch, wrenching it open, the rust grinding against itself with an agonizing creak. Glancing back, she saw the shadows converging around them like a tidal wave, with claws extended. "Hurry!" she shouted, pushing Ben forward into the dark void below. A gust of cold wind rushed up from the hatch, pulling her hair back. Lisa hesitated, the shadows howling just inches away from her. With a desperate leap, she followed her son into the darkness. They landed on the dirt below, gasping for breath amid the stench of mildew and decay. The air felt heavier, almost suffocating. Every heartbeat echoed ominously in the silence as they struggled to regain their senses. "Mom?" Ben whispered, voice shaking. "Where are we?" Lisa could barely see. The faintest shimmer of light from the hatch above was blocked by the creeping shadows. "We need to move," she urged softly, taking Ben's hand once more and leading him deeper into the enclosure. With each step, an uneasy chill pricked at the back of her neck. The walls were raw earth, damp and moldy. As they ventured farther in, she felt the shadows closing back in on them. No escape, it seemed, was ever truly an escape. Ben paused abruptly, throwing a glance behind them, eyes darting with fear. "Mom, what if they find us?" A low rumble echoed through the ground, vibrating beneath their feet like a warning. The air grew thick, heavy with tension, as if the darkness itself was hunting them. "Listen to me, Ben," Lisa said, squaring her shoulders. "We've got to keep moving. We can't let them take you. We can't lose to them." But in her heart, Lisa felt the ghostly fingers of doubt creep in. What if the shadows were right? What if the darkness had claimed more than just the house? What if they were walking into a trap? Before she could ponder further, a ghastly growl erupted around them, shadows converging like a tornado, swirling with chaotic fury. "Do you think you can escape your fate?" they shrieked, a cacophony of dread. "You cannot run from who you are." Urgency clawed at Lisa's insides as she pulled Ben closer, heart racing. They had to find something, anything, to fight back against the approaching terror. Around them, the whispers grew louder, unsettling, taunting. "Ben!" she cried, then noticed something. Ominous in the darkness, a faint, pulsating glow growing brighter ahead. "This way." Gripping her son's hand, she sprinted toward the glow. It could be their only hope or their ultimate doom. As they raced forward, the shadows' laughter chased them, chilling and cruel. "You cannot hide from the truth," they echoed maniacally. With every step toward the light, the darkness loomed larger. Was it salvation or entrapment? Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that they might be stepping into something far worse. What awaited them beyond that flicker of light? Would the truth set them free or damn them forever? The glow intensified, pulling Lisa and Ben closer like a moth to a flame. Shapes shifted in the darkness behind them, screaming shadows twisting and contorting, still hungry for their fear. "Run!" Lisa urged, dragging Ben along, desperation fueling her speed. The light pulsed in rhythms, illuminating streaks of damp earth and crumbling stones. But darkness encircled them, whispering promises of despair. You won to escape. You belong to us. The voices warbled, echoing with an eerie familiarity that churned her stomach. As they dashed ahead, the ground beneath their feet trembled, each quake reverberating deep into Lisa's bones. Mom, what if it's a trick? Ben gasped, panic lacing his voice. He stumbled, almost losing his grip on her hand. It's not a trick, Ben. I swear. She shouted back, though doubt flickered like a stormy shadow in her mind. She wanted to believe they were moving toward hope, but fear clawed at her, feeding on the uncertainty coiling in her gut. Just as they reached the glow, a booming voice erupted through the darkness. Foolish mortals. It bellowed, heavy and oppressive. You think you can uncover the truth? You'll find nothing but darkness. With a sudden burst, the glow flared brighter, revealing an archway encrusted with jagged stones and grotesque carvings. Lisa halted, eyeing the entrance. Was this truly an escape, or would it lead them deeper into the den of horrors? Ben, stay close, she commanded, heart thumping like a bass drum. The shadows twisted, recoiling from the light as if it burned them. Gripping Ben's hand, she took a cautious step through the archway, the glowing light casting strange shadows that danced on the rough stone walls. Once inside, they were enveloped in a dome of luminescence, revealing shattered relics scattered across the floor. Lisa's breath hitched. Ancient candles, broken mirrors, and wilted flower petals marred the ground, whispering tales of sorrow and loss. What happened here? She murmured, torn between disgust and intrigue. The faint echo of laughter prickled her skin. Primal and hollow, it crept into her mind like poison. You think you found safety? It's merely an illusion. A figure flickered in the corner of her eye, a silhouette cloaked in mist, with eyes glinting like embers. Mom, it's watching us. Ben whimpered, his grip tightening. I know, Lisa whispered, chills cascading down her spine. They had stumbled into a realm infinitely darker than the shadowy spirits they had just fled. Here, the malevolence was palpable, almost sentient. It analyzed, judged, and savored every flicker of fear radiating from them. In the center of this chamber stood an altar, unnatural light radiating from its core. Intricate symbols pulsed against its surface, sending ripples of energy through the air. It felt both sacred and cursed, like a beacon calling them forward. Without knowing why, Lisa felt her feet move toward it, dragging Ben along. Mom, don't. He squeaked, dread lacing his voice. She hesitated, feeling an unseen force pressing on her chest, whispering promises and threats. What if we shouldn't? Ben's words died in his throat as the chamber's light crackled, and a deep laugh unfurled from the shadows. You are too late. It hissed. The truth awaits. Ben tugged at her as the altar pulsed more violently, each beat synchronizing with her racing heart. What lay beyond this moment? Was it the key to freedom or the final trap that would seal their fates forever? Mom, we need to go. Ben cried. But it was too late. The altar surged, and the shadows gathered, swirling like a tempest around them. The air thickened, choking in its intensity. What truth awaited them in that pulsating altar? Could their willpower withstand the darkness' final assault, or were they fated to join the ranks of the lost souls eternally bound to this house? Lisa's heart thundered against her chest as the shadows closed in, encircling her and Ben like a noose tightening with every desperate breath. Stay behind me. She yelled, her voice breaking the heavy air as she pressed forward, needing to reach the altar. The glow pulsed rhythmically, and though it promised answers, it also felt like a haunting invitation to plunge deeper into darkness. Mom, I don't want to. Ben's voice trembled, straining against the fear gripping him. We'll be trapped. But there was no turning back now. She could feel the darkness thrum more violently at her heels, a sinister force eager to swallow them whole. Together. She urged, squeezing Ben's hand. She envisioned the warmth of their shared moments, quick hugs before school, tickle fights in the living room. Love was stronger than this consuming malevolence. They stepped closer, drawn as if the altar were a magnet, overwhelming and intoxicating in its power. As they approached, the symbols carved into the altar began to whirl and reshape, unfurling like a flower in bloom or deepening shadows in turmoil. An echoing laugh unfurled from the silhouettes surrounding them, a twisted mockery of hope. Despair is your only truth. It hissed, standing at the altar. Lisa felt a surge of energy wash over her. It was as if every fragment of regret and sorrow she'd ever held seeped into her, melding into an unholy concoction. She gasped, eyes widening as a vision crashed over her, a glimpse of her past, of happier days twisted into nightmares. A showcase of her choices reflecting not just upon her, but cascaded into Ben's soul. That deep ache of loss from all the wishes they had made echoed ominously around the chamber. "Mom?" Ben's voice trembled, drawing her out of the trance. "What's happening?" "I don't know," she admitted, but inside, she was awakening to the gravity of their plight. "We can't let them take us." The altar pulsed with life, and shadows clawed at their edges, yet she felt something dawning in her heart. A determination flared. One last wish. One final decision. She gripped Ben's hand tighter and focused on the warmth radiating between them, willing it to extinguish the cold darkness leaping forward. "I wish for our freedom," she shouted, her voice ringing against unseen walls. "I wish to reclaim our lives from this terror." A roar erupted, deafening and guttural, as if the very fabric of the realm around them trembled. Shadows recoiled, morphing into anguished screams, their malevolence interrupted. The altar flared brightly, its glow pulling Lisa and Ben into its embrace. "Nothing is free." The shadows shrieked in chorus, anger seething through the room, shaking the ground beneath them. "Every wish comes at a cost. I'll pay it," she shouted, the surge of power igniting her resolve. "I'll pay whatever it takes." The shadows froze, the silence was heavy, soundless as a tomb holding its breath. Lisa could see Ben's face, fear and determination etched into each small line. "Mom, are you sure?" Nodding, she felt love and hope spiral through her veins, a cord binding her to Ben, stronger than any darkness. "We will escape this together. They won't take you." And in that moment, it was as if the night fulfilled her wish. Light exploded outward, enveloping them like a tide washing over a shore, overpowering the choking shadows. As light engulfed her, a sharp pain pulsed through her chest, a reminder of the toll, yet a fierce resolve solidified inside. "We are not lost," she yelled, feeling the shadows recoil as the warmth expanded, threatening to banish the cold from their lives. "We choose love. We choose life." In a blinding flash, the darkness finally screamed, pulled backward as tendrils of light enveloped their figures. Lisa felt released, her essence intertwining with warmth and the promises of truth and light, the shadows dissipating into a cacophony of wails. She looked around, and suddenly, they were outside bathed in moonlight, breath caught in her throat. The house loomed behind them, dark and twisted, still a monument of sorrow but no longer holding them captive. "Mom, we free?" Ben's voice trembled with disbelief as he clutched her tight. "Yes, honey," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "We did it." The shadows no longer murmured, they had been banished. The whispered regrets and malignancy had lost their hold over her and her son. Embracing Ben tightly, Lisa felt lighter, an unfamiliar flicker of hope dancing within. But then she remembered the price would not vanish. They would carry the scars, but now they were free to heal, to create new wishes anchored in the love they shared, no longer marred by the darkness of the past. As they turned to walk away, Lisa held her head high, knowing the shadows would remain a part of their story but would never again dictate it. "Let us go home," she murmured, her heart swelling with a fierce love that eclipsed fear. The journey ahead felt uncertain, but together they would weave a new path, free from the curse and powerful enough to face whatever came next. The house behind them faded, a whisper of what once chained them, and in its place stood a future painted in every color of their love. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.